How to get a business loan for 50,000 insanely fast, even if you have a poor credit score. We're talking about a 500 plus FICO credit score approved. Hi, welcome in. My name is Michael from Viral Funding Solutions. And in this one video, I am going to thoroughly walk you through the step-by-step process of getting this 50K and a bunch more, even less, your expectations, how to shift them, and really just educate you on the process. But if this is the first time you're watching me, I do come out with content like this on all small business loans. We're talking about building business credits, taking advantage of many opportunities online. So if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so and click the bell notification icon so you do not miss any future videos I come out with. Let's get right into this. Now, this is a question I get a lot of the time, and I even get it where people are asking, how much can I get? I'm wanting 1 million, but I'm not doing well in revenue. I don't have the time in business or the credit score. So one thing we have to look at is, yes, speed. That's why I put this timer right here, this clock, because time is money. I get it. You need it so you can make these repairs. You needed to get more employees. You needed to make payroll, some emergency funds for cash flow reasons. The list can go on and on. And I'm like you. I know the feeling of running a business. I run multiple ones, and having to be buried in this, like, how do I get up out of this hole that I'm trying to dig myself up under? And so it's like every time you keep digging, the dirt just keeps coming through. Like people just shut you down, or you just find another opportunity and you don't get what you want. You don't get what you deserve. And so I get it. I know the feeling, and I'm going to walk you through this. So down here, we have to look at a few other expectations. And before I get started showing you this, for all resources and content, look down below in the description. We're talking about grants, SBA, PPP stuff. You can get a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist that'll thoroughly show you step-by-step what you need to know before you walk into an application, with 110% confidence and certainty you will get approved without wasting days, weeks, months, and even years of sifting through information. That'll be down there for you. And one thing we have to look at, so our goal is to get 50K. But what is standing in the way of it? Before we even talk about the qualifications and then these requirements that you have in your mind, right? This is the process of how it works. We have to shift our mind and think the why. Okay, why do we want that 50K? Well, we need it for maybe for some type of an expansion phase we're in. We need it because we need to help our business flourish even more. It's, we want to get that growth under our belt. And there's more specific reasons to it. But underlying all of this is yourself. You have to ask yourself, who do I have to become to be able to get my goal of 50K? Yes, the why is the most important part here, because so many of us, we have these standards, and a lot of this I blame for the SBA, that we must get a monthly payment / longer terms, lower interest. It's usually all three of them bundled. And that's what our expectations are. If we're going to get a 50K amount of funding, I better get these longer terms and monthly payments, and no such thing as daily or weekly or biweekly for me. That's not going to happen. And it may not be the case because your cash flow, it might hurt your business more than it helps it. And not all of us are in the same place. So I get that. And there are alternatives to getting a lump sum of a business loan. But what lenders usually want to look for is, and this is part of the how it works, and I'll try to leave a separate video of these three. So there's the why is the very beginning, the how is like the process, and then your like what is the outcome, which is the 50K. So we kind of want to reverse engineer our way in there. So how? Well, we want to know, what kind of revenue are you doing? To get 50K, we have to more or less know that you're doing, let's say, there's a ballpark to this, a minimum and a median and a high. So to get 50K, you're doing, for example, 25K in business. And that's within each of the last 3 months, more or less, right? We want to see, most businesses and companies, we look for sufficient cash flow. But we also have a criteria. So if you're doing 20K plus per month, and I'll show you a service that allows you to do this in a second, within the last 3 months, that's a great sign that you can get approved for 1 to 2x of your monthly, or in other words, 100 to 200%. of your income. And a lot of the times we can see the projections, we can look at a higher month, but we also like to see the low months and then take that assessment and evaluate it based on how much you can get on that. So if you have, for example, if you're doing 25K, we have maybe your next month was a 30K, and then you had like a 45K. That's good. Your projections are increasing. And that's what a lot of us, the underwriters too, the lenders, we want to look at. And in this case, we can more or less get you that 50K, but because like I said, again, if you're doing 1 to 2X, we're doing 1 to 2X of your monthly from 25 to 50K, that's 1 to 2X, right? 100% to 200%. And with these types of numbers, it looks like the chances of getting you the 50K is very high. Now, there are instances where you're not guaranteed 50K just because you're doing over 20K plus per month and you have these types of projections. Maybe it's because your 25K month doesn't allow you to exactly get 50K. We can push it a little bit and say, maybe we'll get you 45, maybe 40K because you had a lower month. Or let's say another example, you were doing maybe 40K plus and then another 40K plus the second month, and then you did 50K, or maybe you stayed at 40K, then it's highly likely we can get you the 50K because based off of the strong revenue and the cash flow, there's no fluctuations. It makes sense. But a lot of us business owners, we think we deserve it because we had a high month and then we have like 30, 40, and then we have like a $10,000 month. Do you think that's going to get the job done? Not all the time, but the chances are great here. And there are other instances. Another example, it could be where to get 50K, you may be doing over 50K per month. You may be doing like 80K, say 80K, you may be doing 60K, and then you might have a 70K month or so, depends. Maybe it's more consistent. Then the chances of getting you 50K look much, much better because your revenue is just up there. You don't always have to get 1 to 2 extra monthly, come down a little bit, and we can help you with that. And one company that I recommend that they can help you with this is David Allen Capital Inc., where you can get up to $2 million incredibly fast funding within a days of approval, funds deposited within 1 to 2 days, as much as a week, depending on your file, what we have to look through. But it is incredibly helpful. They are a cash advance company, so they don't operate exactly like what a business loan is. But it's similar in the fact that you can get a lump sum and you can pay, you'll have to pay it back. And it's similar to these unsecured business term loans that you've maybe heard of, where they can have medium to high interest. And this is what you would expect for 50K if your business is strong. And I talk to a lot of business owners and I give them the information of completely how it works. And by the way, this will be down below in the description. So if you want to learn more about David Allen Capital and all the other things included, make sure to check that out. But I tell businesses, like, if you want 50K and I show them how this works, they get too tied down to, oh, well, I got to pay back 10,000 back or 12 to 14,000 back of that 50,000 or so. Well, it's a high risk. Maybe you've never taken funding online. Maybe you haven't worked with these lenders. Like, what do you expect? It's not an SBA loan. And we're so programmed to think we need an SBA, we need longer terms. No, it's not always the case, especially for 50,000. It doesn't always make sense for you to take a monthly payment with longer terms. These we can offer 4 to 24 months. Longer terms, I'm talking about like maybe 2 to 10 years. Doesn't always make sense to do that unless you're taking a larger amount and it makes sense for you to apply for that type of funding. If so, there's another program I have where you can get longer terms. But again, you might come back here and it doesn't always make sense to do the other one. So this is where you can get up to 2 million incredibly fast funding. There's even a program where you can do up to 25K today. We're not a fully operational traditional merchant cash advance where we're taking a future percentage of your credit card receivables like the traditional ones do. We are a hybrid, generally 50% less expensive, and it'll be worth it in the end once you see how much you're paying back in this as opposed to something much longer, which you might not even need that amount of time. You end up finding out that you have too much time, that you are actually paying extra interest, and it just doesn't help you at all, and it becomes more expensive to you. So these are things you have to look at. And at 50K, a company like David Allen Capital is the way to go. And let me come back to this before I finish this video. So we talked about our 50K goal, and that is primarily our outer ring. That's our what. We're too focused on this, and we don't focus enough on the how and the why. The how is just below that outer ring of the 50K, which is the processes. How does this work? what are the qualifications, maybe what are the rates, what are the terms, but you have to understand that your standards of getting very low interest rates are up here. Instead, we got to bring them down a little bit. And we got to ask ourselves, what is the right type of funding for my current needs, and how much do I need? What is the payback? I get that, but like I just gave you some examples here, and then the why. So if revenue, we're doing 25K within each of the last 3 months, and we look at a category of service. If you're doing 20K plus per month, you will get 1 to 2x of your monthly. It's not always the case you get the most. We just have to look at things like your bank statements. We have to look at background checks. We have to look at the credit history. Are you making your payments on time? Credit utilization ratio. No recent like bad charges. You're taking out more of your account than you are adding, and it's too much fluctuations. It'll be a little bit more difficult, and that's just the reality. And I gave you different examples of what you can expect to get into in that ballpark, and how also there are other services out there like a Go Capital, where you can get an unsecured business term loan from 20K to 250,000 for your business. These have the monthly payments in the longer terms, but again, it's not always recommended. You're going to end up paying a lot more, especially if it's just 50K. It's not always the strongest thing to do, but I'll leave these options down below in the description. And for all other things you want to learn about with small business funding, and you want to save time, pick up this free 6-step career pro lending checklist. Again, it will be well worth it for you. And for grants, PPP, SBA, IDL updates. If you do not want to miss out on any of this stuff that comes out, please subscribe if you haven't already, and also click that bell notification icon so you don't miss a future video. And if you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and also share it with other people you feel will get value out of this. Because look, we have an expectation. If our expectations are not met, we don't comply with them, or we just disregard it. But there are things in place that we have to understand on how to get a business loan, how to get a cash advance, and so forth. And one last thing to leave you with, if I didn't say it already, when we're looking at business loans and we're calculating how much you can actually get, we can give you about 10 to 15% of your annual revenue, your annual sales. But it depends, on the company that we're looking at, the type of the product. That's why somebody like David Allen Capital is a strong recommendation of mine. And there'll be more content on them down below in the description. Get in there, get your application, so I can help you out the best that I can. Thank you. Bye.